thank you. Super quick thank you to the people organising VideoBrains. This is my first on-stage talk of this one, and a big shout out to the loading bar guys. Thank you for providing us with booze. Much necessary. So, this is me talking about cloud gaming with the best pun I could find about clouds. That took me an hour. First up, I do have to drop a disclaimer. 2. I work for one of the companies that I will be talking about. Now, I'm going to talk about everybody involved in this bizarre new set of tech that's coming up. The overall point being, we're going to talk about some fun things, so it's not just going to be me pitching at you for 15 minutes. The other thing, there will be audience participation. Each and every one of you must think of your favorite game, and you have to hold it in your minds. I will point to you and ask for it. You all ready? Shall we begin? Right. So, if you're in the games industry, you've had to hear about VR for quite a few years. Yes, we know it's coming. Yes, it's there. Every GDC, every talk has been someone being like, oh, VR's the future. Brilliant, great. However, there has been a little secret revolution that's been happening on the tech side, and one that I think applies far more to games design than anyone's really talking about. So this is some cutting edge stuff right here. Ain't nobody else talking about this. I also have to mention this, the sad death of OnLive. If someone later wants to pour like a Copperberg out on the street for it, that'd be fine. This was the previous definition of cloud gaming, the concept of a virtual machine playing video games somewhere across the world, streaming the video back, and you have a little controller and a plug-in box. In an ideal world, this would have been the magical future. However, we still adhere to the speed of light when it comes to internet connections, so this doesn't work. Maybe one day in the future, but not today. So, rest in peace, OnLive. I also want to define what the cloud is, because I'm not going to be talking about this a whole lot. For the purpose of this talk, the cloud is a massive server farm owned by probably one of the big 3, being like Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. It is a monstrous server bank, which you can use in a myriad of different ways. I'm going to get straight into that. And these are the contenders. Very proud of my Photoshops here. So first up, to mention one that has already fallen, this is Shinra Technologies. Square Enix was making a cloud-hosted gaming engine, and we don't know officially what happened to it, only that in a Japanese financial they announced the project had been canned. The team in New York was working on it. What was it going to be? Well, we don't know. We theorized that it was a whole way of building game worlds entirely cloud-side. So the idea of not building a game for someone's PC, but building a game in existence somewhere else and just connecting to it. But we don't know. Then we have Lumberyard. Any of you all heard of Lumberyard? You guys read the zombie clause, right? Yep. Nice. It's free if we get attacked by zombies. So, Lumberyard has buried within it this fantastic little thing called GameLift. So alongside the fact that it's basically CryEngine 3 for no money, and that it has crazy mad Twitch integration out the box, it also has this thing called GameLift, essentially dedicated hosting for no monies. You make a game, and GameLift will do you dedicated server lobbies and multiplayer matching just because. That's a thing that it does. How come no one's talking about this? Then we have Microsoft Azure. Once again, no one's entirely sure what you can do with this. What we know from a technology standpoint is a huge cloud gaming platform. Cloud compute platform. Crackdown 3 will be using it for their physics engine. So for the multiplayer of Crackdown 3, all the computations for the physics in multiplayer is handled by this monstrous thing in the cloud. No, I don't know who these people are. This is literally the best image of Microsoft Azure I could find. I went to 2 pages of results on Google for this. So yes, we don't know particularly what it is, but a lot of the big heavy hitters are using it. Supposedly, the rumor is that Titanfall 2 is going to be using this in a big way. How much of their games can be cloud-side? Interesting. Then there's my lot, which is Spatial OS. Spatial OS is being made by Improbable, and this works off the idea of the game as abstraction. So before you even add Unity or Unreal or anything else into this, the game world exists in its abstraction on a server somewhere in the ethos. If there are no players playing it, the game world still exists. In fact, you can have the perfect game with no players. Any IT professionals in the crowd would have gotten that joke, that's fine. But what does it mean? So, the point of this talk is not to yell at you guys about how wonderful this technology is. We're going to skip right past all of that because you could spend hours talking about, network integration nonsense. No. We're going to talk about what this means to designing games, because that's why we're all here. We've all got a game we want to make. Designing for the cloud does require a different kind of thinking. There are no good stock images of games designers in air quotes, so I have a picture of a giraffe pointing at a duck. I felt it was relevant. What it means to design for the cloud is to take the idea of multiplayer as a core. Not trying to think of multiplayer as an extension of single player, taking an experience that you will already have on a singular machine and desperately somehow trying to bushwhack other players into there through some kind of dedicated server hosting or some horrendous P2P. Anyone who's done network coding in here will have some horror stories to share with you at the bar later. It is not an easy thing to do, but once you are cloud side, well, that's easy. Want to make a Quake Live style shooter? Brilliant, done. Make your assets, use GameLift, jobs are good. Do you want to make an MMO? Brilliant. Use us or use Microsoft Azure, use one of those setups, and it's a piece of cake. So what does this mean for design? Low cost means more variety. See, when you don't have to pay a team of 50 over the course of 8 years to make your MMO, suddenly your game costs a shit ton less to make. And when it costs less to make, that means you can have more fun. These are 3 of my favorite batshit insane multiplayer games. If you don't know them, Transform Ice is a massively multiplayer platform game where everyone plays a mouse trying to get cheese, but one mouse is a shaman and can shape the very land itself as they're running through it. Whoever the shaman is randomly changes from level to level, it's chaos. Realm of the Mad God is a permadeath, bullet hell MMORPG. It exists on Steam, you can play this right now. And the Castle Doctrine is an asymmetrical versus co-op where you must defend your home from invaders while invading other people's. However, you must still be able to leave your house, so you can't place traps everywhere for all time. Now, big multiplayer. Currently, this is only the sphere of the big bastards. If anyone can think of a number of how much they assume the Division cost to make, put an extra 0 on the end of that, because you know that was an expensive project. But what if it's not? What if you can get that scope and that size and that scale, or that kind of speed and connectivity, without having to spend this kind of money? Also, if you haven't played Mindjack, that's amazing. And then we get to talk about client agnostic. Now, I feel this is a term that's going to get thrown at you guys in the same way that VR got thrown at you, and it's going to sound boring as piss water. However, what client agnostic means is the concept that all different kinds of clients connect to the same game. On the right here, we have the Destiny app. This is a second screen app. It basically reads the information put to a third-party server and then shows it to you via your mobile. You don't connect to the game Destiny. You cannot connect to the same session that you are playing, right? This is a brilliant picture from Subterfuge, another game I highly advise. It's the fastest way you can fall out with your friends over mobile. So, client agnostic means that everyone's connecting. Your mobile game is connecting to your PC game because they're all connecting to the same world, right? So why not have it where a game of Subterfuge is the core of an experience, but influences an online shooter? So all the infrastructure, all the narrative happens on your mobile, but the action happens for someone different on their PC. I mean, that's a mental project. That's the kind of thing that gets you thrown out of boardrooms. But in our previous slide, if it doesn't cost you a gajillion dollars to make, then you can just do it. I'm going to let that one settle just a second. But the reason why this was ridiculous is because this is a serious point, which is players love IPs. I don't know if you guys have seen Games Workshop have been doing very aggressive licensing agreements. Lego Dimensions has been doing gangbusters. The problem with IPs is they are expensive. You as creators, if you're a 1 or 2 person team, you're really going to struggle to be able to afford the agreement, even if it's not one up front. But once again, if the cost of your project comes down, then suddenly you can start hitting up different IP holders. You can say, I can produce this game. It would have cost somebody else 8 years to make and a full team. It's going to cost me 2 people and 2.5 years to greenlight, and it's not going to suck. Like, that's a powerful thing to bring into a meeting. Don't use this slide for that, by the way. So yeah, if you want your Avatar, Naruto, Jessica Stone Cold Fletcher mashup, you can do that. Obviously, she's going to be OP because she did kill them all. Like, we're all in agreement on that, right? So the point that I keep smashing back, the point that I keep coming to is the idea that once you add these technologies, once you take these massive banks of cloud services, once you take these platforms that allow you to use these huge online data centers, suddenly online games can be made by anybody. In the same way we were talking about single games earlier on with very simple systems, if you can apply that kind of mentality, that Unity style of development, but then go, well, what if I have 1,000 players in my session? I've made it in 8 hours, but because I've designed for the cloud, because I've made it with these technologies in mind, I can just go, hey, 1,000 people, do you want to just jump into my game? Server hosting's already done, connectivity's already sorted, I don't even need a netcode guy. Suddenly, the playing field has changed. That whole mountain of games which could only be made by the biggest people with the biggest budgets. No, there's nothing now to stop any of you guys from grabbing a Unity instance and just getting nuts. Oh, no, sorry. So how am I doing for time? Well, I told you there'd be audience participation, so let's have some fun. What is your favorite game? Animal Crossing. Who doesn't want that on a multiplayer scale? Like, seriously, who doesn't want to take that to a huge environment, start locking together towns and cities? Okay, what is your favorite game? Oh, God, come on, give me a hard one. I mean, come on, that one sings multiplayer. It's the best evocative kind of dystopian environment. If that was a living world, if that was a world that just existed and you dropped into it, holy crap, that would be awesome. And you at the back, good sir, currently drinking a pint.
Favorite game.
Doesn't have a favorite game. God, I feel bad.
I don't have a favorite game. It's not a big deal.
What? What springs to mind then?
I don't know. I mean, I've been playing games that I enjoyed like this week. So I like Rainbow Six Siege, but I enjoyed playing Deus Ex 15 years ago. Like.
Okay, Rainbow Six Siege is a very interesting one because, again, the amount of money it costs to make a kind of competitive multiplayer shooter like that is very high. The reliance on good multiplayer coding is pretty much make or break. If that game sucks with lag or with bullets not hitting their trajectory correctly because of, terrible coding, then it keels over, which means you can't approach those kind of projects. You can with the cloud. Anyone else want to throw a favorite game at me?
Proteus.
Ooh, good shout. Again, I feel the Planescape Torment kind of concept works from that one. The idea of a living world that you enter into. It doesn't have to be competitive. You don't have to smash somebody in the gabba to be having a good time. Because once again, your cost of assets is down because you're creating in Unity. You're not paying for someone to create the network code from scratch. So why not have MMO Proteus? Anyone else want to throw a game at me?
Tetris.
That would be hell on earth and you know it. You could do it and it wouldn't destroy you budget-wise, but oh my God. That one guy with the last standing brick who's like, nope. And everyone would see. Anyone else want to throw a game?
Hatful Boyfriend.
Nice. So, Hatful Boyfriend is a very interesting one, especially with the visual novel concept. You don't want that as a persistent MMO particularly, because that would limit the story scope that you could go to. You couldn't go to that mad nuts, like pigeon in a tank destroying a school levels. So why not make it round-based? Why not make it a game that is played over 4 hours, and you have 10 people in there, each of them with potentially different love interests, all the same. You're not competing for the sexy pigeon with another AI. Oh no, that guy at the back wants the same sexy pigeon that I do. I have to woo that pigeon better. In a non-combat format. We're not going full Tsundere simulator here. Okay, last one. Come on, throw a good one at me. Nice. Now, as we all know, horror games are a wonder, but they are also bloody expensive to make. This is one of the reasons why we see so few kind of big budget horror games, because they are expensive. Multiplayer survival has also been a genre that's really struggled because once you start adding someone else who's leaping and bouncing around, kind of takes you out of that feeling of dread and fear when the other guy is just like running in donuts and teabagging what appears to be one of Silent Hill's many trash cans. However, you can limit the experience when you're not spending as much money. And I know it seems as if I'm just coming down to the cash of this, But if you think of time as money, so if you think that you and your friends could create, again, perhaps the round-based might work, perhaps the idea that those who die in Silent Hill become the very horrors that stalk. Well, now it's interesting. Now you've got that DayZ fear of the things in the mist that hunt you aren't NPCs that you can predict and that you can pattern. That's a person, and people are assholes. And they will hunt you, and they will troll you, and they will mess with you. And we know it happens. We have a gajillion YouTube videos of documentation to show this. So yeah. So, thank you guys for sitting through that. Thank you for letting me talk about this one. You have been a wonderful audience. Good night.